Hello and welcome to the Little Drops of Wonderful Crochet and Knitting podcast. My name is Ali and this is my place on YouTube to talk about all the crochet and knitting and crafty projects that I've been working on over the past few weeks. Talk about some finished things and things I'm working on, giveaways and so on. My name is Ali. Did I say that already? Just in case I didn't, my name is Ali. I live in the very southeast of the UK in the county of Kent with my husband, who is in the room above me working, so you might hear tippity-tappeting through the floor because he types really loudly. And my two daughters, my eldest is currently at college and my youngest is at school. So I've got the living room to myself, aside from the fact that it's completely full of everything from our kitchen, because we're in the middle of a kitchen renovation and we're literally right smack bang in the middle of it. The kitchen is coming out tomorrow, so everything that belongs in the kitchen is everywhere else in the house. So this little tranquil area behind me is the only tranquil looking bit in the entire house. Everything to that side and behind the camera is total chaos and mayhem. Sorry, I had to have a big slurp of my tea then, but I'm not even going to put it down because I know that I'm going to neck this. I've had a busy morning. It's 11:30 already, and I can tell you that because the kitchen clock that's normally on the wall, it's massive, is on the floor in front of me. I hope it's not ticking. If you can hear ticking, that's why. Yeah, it's 11:30. I've been out running a few errands, had to go and pick up some tiles and some paint samples, and I'm also coming to the end of a course of treatment for getting my tattoo removed. So I went to have that done, so that hurts. And you'll probably be able to see, actually, I'll tell you what I'm wearing. So I wanted to wear, I haven't even mentioned, this is my episode 100. I can't quite believe that I didn't say that right at the beginning. This episode 100, it's a big celebratory episode. I've got a big giveaway to announce. I've got a lovely sponsor, which I'll talk about in a moment. I'm gonna do tons of shout outs. I put a call out on Instagram and on my community page here on YouTube and in my last episode, and the response to that was huge, much more than I thought. And I started a spreadsheet and I've written everything in there. There was a bit of a spreadsheet disaster, so I'm pretty sure that I've lost at least 10 of you, and I'm really sorry if that's happened. Yeah, I did have a bit of a disaster. What else have I got? Let's look at stuff that I've written down. I said I've got a giveaway. Oh, and talk about some patterns, and I want to talk about a few changes that I've got planned as well. Nothing major, just a few little changes to, like, maybe slight change to format and timing of videos, basically. Plans. Let's call them plans rather than changes. Good morning, Mr. Magpie. How's your lady wear? There's a magpie on the roof opposite. Last episode, it was a naked man in his bathroom. This is much better, but I do wish there was two, because that would mean this podcast is going to go well. Two for joy. Oh, I've got my Strictly Socks mug, which was made by Adele at Toadstool House Art, and that is to represent my Strictly Sock Along that I do every year. So I thought this would be a great mug to use for episode 100. I'm going to show you what I'm wearing. I am absolutely boiling. I don't know if I'm going to actually last the whole podcast wearing this. It's made with Drops Flora, which is a sort of 100%. No, it's not. Is it alpaca? I'm not sure what it's wool and alpaca, I think. I'm not sure what the fibre content is, but I do know there's alpaca in it, which normally bothers me, but actually this is fine and it doesn't itch me at all. But I wanted to wear crochet for episode 100 because crochet is where my fibre crafting journey started. It was always my first love, and it's still my favourite craft. And this is the first crochet. Actually, no, it's not the first crochet sweater I ever made. It was the first, like, really full-on pattern that I actually bought, and it's the Picking Flowers sweater by Christina Haderink of A Spoonful of Yarn. But yes, this is my crochet Picking Flowers sweater by Christina Haderink, which I've already said, so that means I'm already repeating myself. And I think we should get started with some finished objects. Now, because I knew this was a special episode, episode 100, there was a couple of projects that I really wanted to make sure I had finished, because they have been slightly long-term projects, and you will be delighted to hear that a year and 3 months after she should have got it for her 16th birthday, my now 17-year-old daughter finally has her requested finished crochet dress. It's all done. The only thing I've got to do is snip a couple of ends of elastic off, but we'll ignore those. I'll tuck them in and we'll all pretend we can't see them. So this is the, what is it? I can tell you that the designer is Hook Loops. And it is the Mystique pattern. This is a really battered copy by now. So it's the Mystique pattern, and as you can see here on the front cover, it's a top. And it shows 4 different ways that you can wear it. But if you want to make it into a dress, you just keep going with the frill. And you make it as long as you want to. And that's what my daughter wanted. She saw on Instagram a version of this made by the Silver Knot. I think the Silver Knot. And she loved the colours and the style of it. So I kind of replicated that for her. So we've got the peach at the top and the pink here. And then it's finished off along the bottom. It's all finished now with a little picot edging. And then it has straps at the back like this. And then what happened was I did it way too big around here. But if it had been any smaller, she wouldn't have got it over her hips at the back. So I, with the advice of everyone here, got some elastic, and I've added elastic, threaded it through, which means it creates this really lovely little ruched bit at the back, which looks so nice. In fact, it couldn't be better. It's almost like a part of the design, and it also means she can stretch it out to get it on. She very kindly and slightly begrudgingly agreed to model it for me, so that I don't have to prance about putting this on, as I've done many times before. So I will insert a little couple of pictures and maybe a video as I'm talking to you about the colours. I used, to make it, a 3.5mm hook, and the yarn I used was Shashamaya Catania yarn, which is 100% cotton yarn. The pink is colour 00246, it's called Rosa. The white is Weiss, colour 00106, and the peach colour is called Salmon, and that is 00296. I lost track of how much yarn I used for this, but it wasn't a vast amount. I'd say I probably used an equal amount of the peach and the pink, because the pink, actually no, I probably used quite a bit more of the peach, to be honest, because I've got the, you make the the cups, you make the straps, and you make that top part. And then the pink was really just for the rest of the skirt until it was as long as she wanted it. The white is just for the trim and the outline. And it is so pretty and so fun, and it was such a lovely project to make. It was not like any other pattern I've worked on. The designer was super helpful, and the pattern is really well written, and I would actually go and have a look at some of her stuff again, and I would be tempted to have another go at making this same thing as a top for Lilia as well, my daughter who wanted it. And just in case you're interested, the elastic that I used was 6mm elastic, because it did need to have, it needed to be fairly thick but still be hidden in the fabric. Yeah, so I am so pleased that that's finished, but not as pleased as Lilia is, who can now finally wear it and is really excited to do so. So my next finished object that has been in the making for a little while is my litmus cowl, and I am so thrilled with this. It's so lovely, and it's just the size that I wanted it to be. I used for this a set of minis from Henny Penny Makes, and they were a gift from a lovely supporter and friend of this podcast called Hilary, who lives in Australia, and she sent me the gift from Henny Penny Makes directly. And Henny Penny Makes is Erin, and she's based in Scotland, and because of that I've discovered her yarn, and actually some of Erin's yarn is in one of the giveaway prizes that I'll talk about later. And her yarn is gorgeous, and I had the great pleasure of meeting Erin and her partner at the recent East Anglia Yarn Festival. You can see my vlog about that a couple of videos back on this channel, and it was so lovely to meet her. And I just love how this looks. I did it a kind of rainbow order. It wasn't a rainbow set or anything. I just picked things and tried to put them in a kind of rainbow order, but completely forgot to add in yellow, which is silly because yellow is my favourite colour. And I just love how this looks. The grey is Cascade Heritage, and this is how it fits. I made it to go round twice. The pattern, of course, is the Litmus Cowl is a free pattern. It's by Jude Harper of Stranded Dye Works. It's more a recipe than a pattern, but such a good idea. And I really see why it's so popular. Don't know why I'm making this look so complicated. Isn't it? Oh, it just fits perfectly. This is just how I want it. It's not strangling me, but it's going to keep me nice and warm here. And also you can adjust it. So if you fancy having, I fancy I'm in a bit of a red-orange mood today, you can have this bit at the top. Or if you're like, oh no, I feel like I'm more suited to blues today, you can adjust it and have the blues near your face. It's just, I love it. I did have a bit of an issue, which is my fault, when I blocked it. I gave it a very light block. I just soaked it, because it has been a long time in the making, so it did need a bit of a soak and a wash. And then I put it in the sink like that, soaked it, left it for a couple of hours because I went out, and then came back and realised that because I'd done that, of course, the colours had been in direct contact with some of the grey areas. So they did run, not only only in like one place. I think I had this bright green and it went onto the grey, because obviously it was like in direct contact with it. What I should have done was just soak it briefly, like get it in there, get it wet, get it out. I shouldn't have left it to sit. But when I realised that's what had happened, when I laid it out flat, I just put a towel in between so that when it was drying, it wasn't sitting on, you know, colour to colour or colour to grey whilst it was drying. So, but that was the only problem I had, and that was my fault. Lesson learned. But I'm so pleased with it. Oh, and by the way, this is I was really nervous because you start with a provisional cast on. I did a crochet provisional cast on, and I started with the red here, and then I went up to the orange. So I know that this is my beginning line at the bottom of the red, and then I finished on a grey, and then I grafted them together with Kitchener stitch, and this is my join. I am absolutely thrilled to bits with that. Can't even see it. Oh, you can't see it if I'm just doing that, can you? Can't see that join at all. I am delighted with myself, smug face. So that is my two kind of languishing works in progress. It feels so good to have those two things finished. I will put this away and look forward to wearing it when the weather starts to turn in the autumn. But Lilia's going to start wearing her dress pretty much straight away. It's a real summer thing, so she's thrilled to have that. I already said that, didn't I? I'm repeating myself. I also got a bit of a frog in my throat all of a sudden. We were shouting a lot yesterday. We went, Dan and my youngest daughter Phoebe and I, we went to Wembley yesterday for the Women's FA Cup final. And it was so good. I've never been to a big match like that at Wembley. I've been to one football match years and years ago at West Ham. So this was amazing. The whole day was great. The atmosphere was incredible. And they have all kinds of different things going on whilst you're waiting for the match to start and during the, I was about to say the interval, during half time. And you know, you can get drinks and food, and yeah, it was just such a good day. And we were sat at the Chelsea end, which was great because Chelsea won 1-0. So we were really at the end where we could really feel the excitement of the fans and everything. But there was quite a lot of shouting, so maybe I'm losing my voice slightly. We were also up quite late last night, in that reckless kind of way where you don't want the weekend to end. Ooh, what's going on here? Right, okay. My final finished object for this podcast episode is I made another violet waffles hat. Well, sort of my version of a violet waffles hat. The pattern for the violet waffles hat is How Dora J. And I made this pattern before because I saw my friend Sarah on the Yarn Mugs podcast talk about it. And I just cast on 100 stitches using the... I have no idea. I had this whole chat about different cast-ons recently, and I can't remember the one that I really like, the edge that it creates. I'm pretty sure it's the Norwegian cast-on, but I will go back and look at my notes and put it on the screen. So I cast on 100. I did a 2x2 rib until I thought the rib was long enough, and then I did the violet waffles pattern because it's you need a multiple of 4, so I knew 100 would work, and it's got such a nice decrease bit. Oh, the bin men have just pulled up outside and they're right at the level of the window, and I'm just sitting here talking with a hat on my hand. Go away, bin men. It's very, I don't know if you can see on the wall behind me that it's reflecting yellow. Their truck is bright yellow. I think we'll wait until they pass, both so that I don't feel so awkward and also because otherwise everything's going to take on a very yellow tinge. I think we have enough yellow with the jumper. They've gone, they've passed by. So here we go, here it is. Oh, I love this colour. The yarn is from Yarns You Like, Marcia at Yarns You Like, who I always see at yarn shows, and she sells plant-based yarns. And she also vends at a market in London every week or every month. I can't remember the name of it. Let's have a look on her Instagram. Chatsworth Road Market. She does other markets and things throughout London as well, so it's worth, if you're London based, it's worth keeping an eye on her Instagram because she does share on there where she goes. And I just love it. This is the soy cotton yarn, and I made one with the burgundy, and this is the blue royal colour. And I made them with an intention of giving them to my friend who was having cancer treatment. And of course I was so slow that it's a bit warm now, but she is going to choose one for next winter. But we haven't seen each other because we've both been too busy, which is life, isn't it? Oh look, here's Marcia's card. There you go, Yarns You Like, so you can pause that. And I made the whole hat on 3.5mm needles, and the soy cotton yarn that I used is DK. It's quite good, isn't it? Showing my support for the Ukraine now. My yellow and blue. Oh, did you watch Eurovision, speaking of the Ukraine, and supporting them? Because obviously the UK hosted Eurovision, because we came second last year, and we hosted Eurovision on their behalf. It was good, wasn't it? Really good. I love Eurovision. We don't take it too seriously. We just really enjoy all the different acts, and you know, sometimes you get a real gem, don't you? And I think certainly last year was so good because Sam Ryder is such a talented musician. I wasn't so keen on the UK song this year, but I really enjoyed the show. I thought it was really good fun, and it's always fun to watch with the kids as well. And we have a little family group chat, and my sister always makes me laugh with her critiques of all the performances. Anyway, that's an aside. So that is all of my finished objects. So I'm going to talk about my works in progress, but before I do, I thought I'd mention today's sponsor because it kind of ties in really well with the ability to have finished objects, particularly in a darkish blue yarn, for example, and also to be able to work on my works in progress. So my finishing and my whipping. No, that sounds bad. That sounds bad. Pretend I didn't say that. My working on things that are in progress. So the sponsor for today is Serious Lights, and this is my beloved Leia. We have named her Leia. It was the idea of one of the viewers of this podcast to call her Leia because she's on the light side. Just brilliant, just perfect. So this is Leia, and Leia pretty much lives here next to this sofa because this is where I do most of my crafting, reading and editing. But she's really easy to move when she doesn't have a load of stuff from the kitchen on top of her. Hang on. There we go. So you can see I got a lightweight one, so I can lift it one-handed like this, and I quite frequently do. And I move her across to the other sofa, and she's really bendy like this. You can tilt her like that. You can also, oh, accidentally turn her on. You can bend it like that. You can really get it right into position of where you want to work. Let's just turn her off for a minute. I've had my Serious Light, my layer, for I think about 6 months now, maybe more, and I use her every day. I've got to stop referring to the light as her. It's an it. I use it every day, and even now that the nights are lighter, I still use her, because if we're all sitting in here of an evening watching television, I can just pull her right down over what I'm working on, if it's cross stitch or knitting or crochet, pop her on, and then she's got a dimmer, so she can be super bright, but I never need to have her on super bright. I always have her on the lowest setting. And then there's also a setting where you can adjust the width of the beam as well, so you can really have it just focused on what you're working on, and it doesn't disturb anyone around me. So they can all be watching Death in Paradise, or I don't know, looking at TikTok or whatever it is they do, and I can be knitting or cross stitching or crocheting away. And it has been an absolute revelation. It's meant that I've worked longer into the evenings on projects that I love working on, and it's just really opened up my crafting time. They're a UK brand as well. They're actually hand built in their factory in Aylesbury, which was another thing that really made me want to work with them, because they're a good British brand. They get brilliant reviews, and they really are a good company, and their customer service is fantastic. And they use something called daylight wave. Oh, let me read this to make sure I get it right. Daylight wavelength technology, which replicates as closely as technically possible the daylight spectrum, so it's comfortable on my poor perimenopausal eyes because I am prone to dry eyes now, and I do get headaches more easily, and I find that this really helps. It doesn't feel like it's a strain on my eyes when I'm using it, and yeah, for me it has been a real game changer. I chose black as it looks pretty classy in my living room. I really like it, and like I say, I chose a lightweight base, but there's lots of other customizable sort of options and colours that you can choose on the website. So that you can definitely get one to like, they do white, they've got, you can get different colour bendy bits, different weight of bases, and there's even different designs as well. Yeah, so Serious Lights, I love mine. Sorry Leia, I'm going to have to just bend you up a bit like that, otherwise I'm probably going to end up bashing my head on it. They are at the pricier end, and I think they're worth every penny. Now that I've lived with one for the last 6 months, I can honestly say that if it broke and someone said, right, you're gonna have to buy another one, I wouldn't hesitate. I would go and get one. I have an offer code for you. I'm popping it on the screen now, and I'm gonna put all the information in the description box underneath as well. SR306. If you quote that code, you will save £100 on a high definition light, and you will get free international shipping as well. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, it will be free. So that is quite a brilliant offer. So you save £100 and you get free shipping. So I'll put the link to the website underneath as well, so you can have a look. And by the way, I didn't say at the beginning, but chapters and information about everything I talk about are in the description box underneath. And if I miss anything, just drop me a comment and I'll let you know. So thank you so much to Serious Lights, A, for sending me my Serious Light last year, because she's my new best friend. It is my new best friend. And for sponsoring this video. Works in progress. My Amma top is a crochet top that I'm working on. It is the Amma Granny Square top. It's a free pattern. It's by Maria Valles. And last time I spoke about this, it was living in a basket, which just was near the sofa. I've now upgraded the project to its own project bag. This is my beautiful chickens project bag from the lovely Emma at Eldenwood Craft. It is amazing. She has got so many gorgeous bags in her shop. I would highly recommend you go and take a look. I will link her underneath. Where's her little... Oh, there it is. You can see there's the label. chopping wood. It's really hard to do. Yeah, so this was actually a gift from Emma, and she also gave one for a giveaway. And I used this, you will recognise it if you were watching my April vlogs over on my This Little Wonderful Life channel. I also forgot to say that at the beginning, didn't I? Where you can find me. I'm Starry Eyes Ali on Instagram and Ravelry. And I've also got another channel where I vlog about my daily life. And it's called This Little Wonderful Life. Bit late to say it, but at least I said it. Last time I talked about this, I was making it and I showed it to you and I was saying how beautiful the yarn is, but I couldn't remember what the yarn was. And I knew I had 2 skeins. I found it. I found the label and I found the other skein of yarn, which was a bit of a relief. So this is fingering weight yarn, and I'm using a 3mm tulip hook, which was a gift from the lovely Rel, who has the Dabbling Hook podcast. I love her podcast so much. Do head over and have a look at Rel. She knits and crochets. Actually, I'm going to mention her later as well. And she designs as well, but she makes so much stuff because she does craft fairs, and I just, when she shows everything that she makes, it just makes me want to grab my crochet hook and make everything. And she uses quite big yarn as well, so I love her podcast. Anyway, she tagged me in something about crochet hooks, which I took part in, and when she realised that I was a bit rubbish at actually using quality tools, she sent me a tulip hook to try, and I have to say she's 100% right. This is great, this hook. I really enjoy working with it. Long story to say that's the hook I'm using for this project. And this is what my Amma granny square top looks like so far. It looks like a square and not a very big one. I've got a little bit to go yet. You're basically doing 2 granny squares, which you then seam together and do armholes. But the beautiful yarn I now know is by Cookston Crafts. It was a gift from my friend Ali when we went to Scotland back in August 2021, and it's 4-ply, fingering weight 75-25 superwash merino nylon, and the colour is Granite Sparkle. And here's the other one in the skein. So it's Cookston Crafts, who's based in Aberdeenshire. I'm sure you all know of Cookston Crafts, and this is the colour, Granite Sparkle, which is such a gorgeous name. So my family, my mum's side of the family, are all from Aberdeenshire, in that area. They're still there, that's where they live, and we frequently visit them. So going to Aberdeen, the Granite City, was a huge part of my childhood and my life. So this is a very special colourway, and I'm really pleased to be using it. Just hope I've got enough. I didn't actually think of that when I started, but I think I'll be all right. So that is my Amma Granny Square top. I haven't made huge progress on it, but it is now an official work in progress because it's got its own project bag. I've barely made any progress on any of my other crochet and knitting works in progress. Oh, I have made a bit of progress on a cross stitch one though. Let me show you that first. And I'm going to show you a new cast on in a minute, because it's something I had to get cast on because of some of the changes I want to make, or some of the plans that I have for the channel and the podcast, and because of that I wanted to get this particular project cast on so that it became an official work in progress. But I'll show you that in a minute. I'm going to show you my cross stitch first. I've been working only on one cross stitch lately since I got hooked on it, and that is my David Attenborough one. It's a bit wonky in the hoop because I had to move it a bit to work on the bit I'm working on. It is inspired by this print by oh, I can't remember, I'll look it up in a sec. So it's this print of David Attenborough, and it is by Gary Ralphs at Geeky Little Monkey. And it has been adapted for a cross stitch pattern by Hoops and Crosses. It's a full coverage one, and I am loving this so much. The pattern comes in 2 halves. So you've got the top half of the circle, the bottom half of the circle. So my plan is to do the top half entirely and then move on and do the bottom half entirely. And like I say, it's a bit wonky in the frame because I've moved it across to work on this side of it. But I've done the sky, the words, the sun. I've coloured in David's face and the monkey's face. and I'm currently working on the grass on this side here, having just completed the grass here. Sorry about the coughing in the background, Dams. My husband's in the kitchen coughing. So yeah, this has been so much fun to do. When I don't have the brains for anything else, I pick this up and it's just like colouring in. It's so easy to do, and because it's full coverage and there's whole big bits where you can just, I decided to do the outline black first so that then I just needed to come back and fill it with colour, and that has proved to make a really relaxing process and I'm really loving it. Okay, so the mystery new cast on that I mentioned is, I can't believe how much work I put into this, but this is one that I have wanted to make for years. I've had the yarn balled up, the needles ready, the pattern all ready to go. It's been in a project bag and everything. And all I needed was me to get off my bum and start it. And I've finally done that, and I'm so happy with it. So the pattern is the Across the Pond Shawl by Nina Phillip for the Knitting Expat. That's what it looks like. And I don't generally make shawls much these days, especially knitted ones. But since I've been working on it, I'm like, why not? They're so fun to work on. And the yarn that I'm using is a really, I bought both of these yarns forever ago. Where is the label? All right, so the first one, I think I bought this at like one of the first yarn shows I ever went to. It was either Festival or Unravel. And it's by West Green Loft Yarns, Vicky at West Green Loft Yarns. And it is an 80-20 bamboo and merino. And it is, yeah, 80%, 20% bamboo merino, and the colour is chalk chip. So this is the label. I'm sure her label's changed now. It's that long ago since I bought it, and the colour is chalk chip, and I went and looked on her website and she definitely doesn't have any, so I'm not sure it's even a colour she still does, but it's so lovely. It's such a lovely colour. Look at how it's working up. Chalk chip obviously just makes me think of mint chocolate chip ice cream. And I had a bit of a false start with the pattern because there was a bit I didn't understand, but I looked at a lot of the notes in other people's projects, and then I went onto YouTube and found someone, and I eventually worked it out. Sorry, I don't know why I'm suddenly snotty. I wasn't snotty before I started filming. Where was I? Whoops. It's a butterfly stitch basically. It's really fun to do. It's an 8-row repeat, and yeah, it's good fun to do. Why have I got a load of deep ends on near me? That must have come from another project at some point. So there's 2 sizes, and for the smaller size you can do 11 repeats. I've done 9 repeats, and for the larger size you do 15 repeats, and I'm going to make the larger size. So I am 6 repeats away from being ready to switch to the lace border. And for the border I am going to use an undyed sparkle yarn, which I bought from Rosie's Moments. Oh dear, what's happened? Yeah, so it's just undyed sparkle yarn, which I'm tangling up. Oh, I'm not going to fart about with that. I'll deal with that another time when I'm not filming. But I'm sure you can see that that's lovely and sparkly. So it's a really subtle combination, but I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful with this as my main part of the shawl, and then just the plain sparkle for the lace. Really looking forward to it. I love knitting lace, love it. And I'm really glad that I finally started that after years of wanting to make it. It feels really good, and it's living in a bag that is by Caroline Love to Sew. I don't think she makes bags to sell anymore, Caroline, but this was beautiful. It was a birthday gift from my husband Dan a few years ago. It's got this really lovely kind of velveteen base, and then I think these are all Tilda fabrics. It's really beautiful. Yeah, so it's living in there. And it's been living in there for years, even though I haven't been working on it. So that has been started because it needed to become a work in progress, and I will explain that later. Oh, I do feel like I've been doing this podcast in all the wrong order. Like I'm looking at my notes, realising that there's all stuff I should have mentioned at the beginning that I didn't. You think after 100 episodes I might be a little bit more practiced at this, but clearly nothing goes in. Just as vacant at episode 100 as I was at episode 1. Patterns on my radar. This is where I like to talk about patterns that have either been given to me as gifts, or I've spotted and gone, ooh, or I've bought, or whatever reason they've come onto my radar and I want to shout about them and share them with you. So the first one is the Bricks and Hearts Hat and Cowl set by Rel. I told you I was going to talk about her again. So this is by Rel at the Dabbling Hook. I don't know if I can say it like she. I'm not very good at accents, but she says Bricks and Hearts, Bricks and Hearts. Really quickly like that. Don't forget everybody. No, she doesn't say that. Bricks and Hearts. Rel doesn't sound anything like that. This is a knitted pattern by Rel, Bricks and Hearts. The Hat and Cowl set, and it's made for super chunky yarn. And I had to buy it, and this is a terrible printout, so I'm going to put a picture up on the screen. Actually, I'll move so I can do that for all of them. So it's a combination of like a kind of brick pattern and a heart colourwork pattern. And she works a lot in chunky yarn, super chunky yarn, and I don't. And I really like the idea of making something like that works up super quickly, and it's so cute, and the colours she used just look so lovely together that I had to buy it, because I really want to give it a go. What I'm thinking I'm going to do, because I have so much yarn in my yarn stash, is grab some and hold it not double, but you know, quadruple or 6 times over to get the right weight of yarn. I reckon I will have enough yarn of some colours to be able to do that, or even do it as a kind of lovely multicoloured mishmash. So I might have a little go at that and see how it turns out. So that's the Bricks and Hearts Hat and Cowl set. That is by Rel at the Dabbling Hook. I also wanted to mention the Wyandotte socks by MissNissDesigns. She got in touch with me during April vlogs, but it was after I'd filmed my last episode. She actually gave a little discount for a while, which I shared on Instagram and on the community page of this channel. So her name's Anissa. She's MissNissDesigns, and it's the Wyandotte socks pattern, which are inspired by her favourite chicken breed, because she is a fellow mother of chickens. And they're so pretty, these socks. They're absolutely lovely. They're a knitted pattern, and definitely go and check those out because I thought they were beautiful. I'll definitely be making those when I'm feeling quite clever in the future. I was also given a gift, and I should say as well that, Anissa gave me the pattern, the Wyandotte socks, as a gift. So thank you so much, Anissa. And I also received a lovely birthday gift from Laura, and she sent me the Wild Oleaner hooded scarf by Wickedly Handmade. It's a crochet pattern made with Aran weight yarn, and she said, I could really see your girls liking this, and she's exactly right, they would love it. Not only that, but I do. A hooded scarf made with crochet is so fun. I'm definitely going to be looking out some yarn to make that towards October, I think. Really liked that pattern, so thank you, Laura. Another gift that I got around my birthday was from lovely Hilary, who I mentioned earlier, who bought me the yarn for the litmus cowl. And she bought me the Mushroom Fairy House bag, which again is a lovely crochet pattern by Savannah Pelletier. It's made using DK yarn, and usually it's $6 or around £4.95. I've actually written down all the prices and haven't said anything, so I'll just go back. The Bricks and Hearts Hat and Cowl set is around $8, which is £6.50. The Wyandotte socks are $4.99, which is around £4. The hooded scarf is $5.99, which is about $4.95 in pounds. And then the Mushroom Fairy House bag is $6, which is around £4.95. I also had a gift from Teresa, who very kindly sent me a pattern by Nancy Wheeler of Knits It Pappy, who I will mention later. Ooh, the sun's just come out. It's a pair of socks that's inspired by the marvellous Mrs. Maisel. It's got a bit of a sweary name, So I know a lot of kids watch this podcast, so if you just want to cover their ears for a few seconds. Are their ears covered? Good. They're called the Tits Up socks. They're inspired by the thing that Mrs. Maisel and Susie, her best friends, say to each other to give themselves confidence. They're a beautiful twisted stitch and cable design, and all proceeds when she released that pattern in the first month, I think, went to the Canadian Breast Cancer Charity. They're usually $5 Canadian, and they which is about £3, and they are beautiful. So thank you so much for that, Teresa. Those are all the patterns on my radar, and I would like now to move on to the bit I've been really looking forward to, and that is doing the shout outs for all of the other podcasts. I'm going to open up my laptop here, get the spreadsheet up, and I'm going to change my battery. Okay, I've got my list up, and like I say, I did have a little bit of a disaster with this. So I've definitely lost some of you, and I'm really sorry about that. But I've got a lot to get through. I haven't watched all of you. It was quite a long list, and I got almost to the end of it, but the last shot of 7 or 8, I think I didn't get around to watching. But oh my goodness, did I have a lovely time. I now subscribe to about double the amount of channels that I subscribed to originally. Well, we've got a funny light going on. Oh well, we'll work with it. Oh, I don't need to sit like that because I'm not going to put pictures up. So I have notes about all of your podcasts that you've given me, and I'm going to try and go through this as quickly as I can, because otherwise this section is going to get really long. I will also link all of these channels underneath. If I run out of room to do that, I'll put it in a comment. And yeah, so make sure you go and click on them, go and discover them, find out what they're about. I'll try and give you as much information as I can, but the best way you can find out if a podcast or a vlogger is going to be your cup of tea is to go and have a watch. We all love different things, and I firmly believe that in the world of YouTube and crochet and knitting and making and talking about it and all the different areas of YouTube that exist for different subjects, there is more than enough room for absolutely everybody, because as humans, we are all so different. We all have different things to say. We all have different ways of working, different colours that we prefer, different tools, crafts, ways of presenting, different ideas. And there is just so much room for absolutely everybody. And I listened to a podcast by Jo Mosley. She is a UK paddleboarding podcaster. She's in her late 50s. She came to paddleboarding quite late, and she's such an inspiring woman. And I listened to her podcast, and she always starts it off by saying, it's called the The Joy of Sup, the Paddleboarding Sunshine podcast. And she always says, we rise by lifting others. And I feel that that is so true. And I have been very lucky to be given a lift by other channels, big, small, in between, or other makers on Instagram, and I feel forever grateful for that, because without those little mentions or anything like that, my channel wouldn't get out there, and it's just amazing. So thank you to anyone who's ever said my podcast name over the years. I've appreciated and loved it every single time. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get started. So the first one is Knit Sip Happy, who is Nancy. She's in Canada. She said, my name is Nancy and my channel is Knit Sip Happy. I started my channel last summer because I needed to have a tutorial to support a sock pattern, and there wasn't one out there already. A couple of weeks later, fueled by a big glass of wine, I recorded my first podcast and loved it. I love chatting with people who speak the same language. Yarn. I show off my knitting, sometimes crochet blankets and cross stitch. And we usually have a little section at the end talking about my sock designs. I donate the first 7 days of pattern proceeds to various charities, and just donated $1,100 to the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation from my Tits Up socks, which we also just mentioned. I make wine and sell wine in my day job, so the sipping is a major part of my life as well as the knitting. So I still record my episodes with a glass of wine, and yeah, it was really nice to see her explaining the wine that she's drinking, and yeah, really good, because I love wine. I love them. Next up is Chromatic Knits, who is Michelle in the US. Hi Michelle, she very kindly contacted me recently, so thank you for that, Michelle. We've already exchanged a couple of emails. And Weedy Flower Creations, that's Karen in Gloucestershire in the UK. She is a cross-stitch designer, she's lovely. The name came about because a little boy at the school where she worked, and who was also a friend of her son's, couldn't pronounce her surname, which is Wyandotte, so called me Mrs. Weedy Flower. The name stuck with lots of the children after that, and that's why she's called Weedy Flower Creations. She is a Scottish South African crafter who's been in the UK for 23 years, and her channel is about cross-stitch, crochet, knitting, quilting and anything else crafty that takes her fancy. At the moment, my video content is more cross-stitch with a smattering of yarny chat, but it will balance her back to more yarn and general crafts again once there's more awareness of my fledgling cross-stitch designs business. So make sure you go and give her a bit of a boost at Weedy Flower Creations. She already did the most amazing cross-stitch design for the Strictly Sock Along, which I have started, but I've made very little progress on, but I'm sure I will be showing you that in future. Next up is Stitches and Jacks, who I had the great pleasure of bumping into at the East Anglia Yarn Festival, so you will see her on my vlog about that. She is Karen, she's in the north of England. She's currently doing May vlogs actually, and she talks about knitting, crochet and quilting. Oh, my tummy's rumbling, I'm really hungry. Well, it's 12:30, it's lunchtime. Yarns from the South is Vanessa and Sue. They are on the South Island of New Zealand. It's mainly knitting related, but they delve into other crafts too. They're so funny. They've got a really nice connection between the two of them, and they're a swearing friendly podcast. So they do like a bit of swearing, who doesn't? A spring snowflake, Sophie, who very rightly guessed that I would have a spreadsheet for this. She is originally from Kent, like me, but she currently lives in Oxford. I've met Sophie many times. She is lovely. She mostly vlogs and talks about yarn crafts, including her crochet and Tunisian crochet designs, but there's also stationery and journaling and spinning and everything. She is super crafty, super clever. Love Sophie. Lovely Bex Creates is Becky. She is in Bristol. She used to be Becky Norman Design. She is now Becky Dixon Designs because she very recently got married, and she is expecting her first baby very, very soon. She is Mrs. B Diddy on Instagram, and she talks about knitting and crochet. Laurie Lulu Crochet is Laurie. She is in Chicago. She talks about crochet, knitting and yarn stash, and she loves to crochet the iconic women, and she's about to finish her 30th amigurumi of iconic women, and that is Agatha Christie. And it was really, really cool, her little Agatha Christie amigurumi. So make sure you go. Actually, just, I won't say this for everybody. Make sure you go and check them out. Then I won't have to say that every time, but do go and check Laurie out. Next up is the Yarn Creations podcast, who is Adele in South Africa. It's all about yarn related crafting, knitting mostly, but also crochet and weaving. Oh no, see, now I know. I should have made proper notes because I know I've watched you, Adele. I'm trying to picture your face so I can remember. But yeah, I very much enjoyed your podcast. Alison is Handmade Knits. She is in Telford in the UK. She has just started her knitting journey, and she has a new podcast. Then we've got Virgin. She is the Yarn and Glass. She has the Yarn and Glass podcast, and she lives with her husband in St. Louis in the US. And she makes videos about her yarny and crafty projects and her other major love, which is mosaics. And she says, in which I play with glass. Now, I have got one of Virgin's mosaics that she sent me. I've shown it on my other channel, but I haven't shown it here, and I can't show it to you now because it is packed away, because it was living in the kitchen and everything from the kitchen is packed away. But she did me the most amazing mosaic of my 3 chickens, and she sent it all the way from America. I am blown away by her generosity because she's such a talented artist, and it's an amazing piece. I will show it to you in the future. But she makes videos with her lovely husband Charlie. Yeah, it's a lovely podcast. The things they talk about, and she's so creative and so talented. She exhibits her mosaics in art galleries and everything. Definitely go and check her out. I've got to stop saying that after everyone. Catherine Crochets is Catherine in South London. She's a crochet designer, and she does podcasts about crochet and knitting, projects, audiobooks that she's listened to, and some crochet tutorials for her patterns too. Full of Grace Stitches is Gina. She's in the US. She published her very first video in April, and she talks about her crochet projects. Pinkstone Threads is Abigail. She is in the US. She talks about yarn dyeing, knitting, she talks about knitting, crochet, and very soon yarn dyeing. You see, when I was watching everyone's podcast, I was like, I'll remember that. I'll remember all the details, and didn't write anything down. And of course, I can't remember the details of what I did this morning, let alone what I watched 3 days ago. So the next one is Fairy Floss Creates. That is Faye in North London, but she's originally from Rochdale. It's kind of floss tube, cross stitch related, and is transforming into a multi-craft channel. She's discovered yarn recently, so who knows what's next. And then we've got Bondi Knit and Quilt. That is Barbara. She is in Bondi in New South Wales, Australia. Channel is about her expeditions into knitting, some patterns, and her quilt making, which is a lifelong passion for her. Craftably Ever After is Cassandra. She is a South African living in Copenhagen. Beautiful Copenhagen. She's had her channel for just over a year, and she's mainly an amigurumi maker, but also some random other crochet projects in between as well, and the odd bit of sewing. She does this brilliant thing with her friend Caroline for the Love of Crochet. They do this thing called hooking up with books, and I am gonna join in with this, Cassandra, because it's such a good idea. They read a book, they select a book, and for a month they either read or listen to the book, and then at the end of it they make a crochet project inspired by the book. Such a good idea. I think they're currently on A Man Called Ove, which is the book that the Tom Hanks film A Man Called Otto was based on. So yeah, I'm definitely going to join in with that. Such a good idea. And like I say, she does that with her friend Caroline at Caroline for the Love of Crochet. Now, did she stay on my list, or was she one of the ones that got lost? No, she's here. Caroline for the Love of Crochet. She says she's a Valley girl. She's in California. And her channel is to inspire the love of crochet with tips and tricks and thinking off the hook with crochet. Okay, next we've got Vegas Golden Knits. That's Susie, who's in Nevada. She talks about knitting, and it's another sweary friendly podcast. I'd not heard of sweary friendly podcasts until I started going through this list. So funny. Tabby Cat Creates was another one. She is Tabby. She's in the United States. It's not a podcast, but she does share finished knitted things and a little bit of sewing and fashion as well. Muddy Boots Maker is Amy in Australia. She is a knitter, a sewer, a homesteader and nature lover. I think I mentioned her back in Vlogtober because she was doing Vlogtober as well. But that probably would have been on my other channel. Next one is Ivona in Holland. And her channel, I'm going to say wrong, but it is Knitting in Den. Knitting in Den. I read it as Knitting in Den, but she says it Knitting in Den really quickly. Sorry about this weird light. I really enjoyed Ivona's podcast. She does a Dutch speaking podcast about knitting and also weekly vlogs about what she gets up to in the week. But she has just started also doing an English podcast version as well. So she still does her Dutch speaking podcast, and I know I have a lot of Dutch speaking viewers, so definitely go and check her out. And she lives, I think, Rotterdam? I might have that completely wrong. It might have been someone else I was talking to. But she's in Holland, and she collects Cindy's, and she makes them, knits them, little clothes and stuff. Oh, I really enjoyed listening to her talking about her projects. And she says she's on her 3rd episode in English, and she said it's important for her to keep doing it so she gets to practice speaking her English. And of course her English is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. The Crafty Stitches podcast is Debourvu, I'm saying that wrong, I know, which is Afrikaans for farmer's wife. This is Mariette, and she is in South Africa. Is it Afrikaans or Afrikaans? I think it might be Afrikaans, sorry about that. She started her podcast in January 2022. She knits, she crochets, she sews, but her main content is knitting and sewing. And she had a really lovely video on her channel about getting your crochet and knitting motivation back for a project. So it was really good. I feel like I'm talking so fast. I'm really sorry. Next up, we've got Carla Pert, Sew, Knit, Create and Repeat, who is Carla. She's on the east coast of the North Island of New Zealand. She has a small channel where she chats mostly about knitting, but also sewing, spinning, or whatever is floating her boat at the time. And we've got So Sweet Samuel as Lindsay in Southend, just over the other side of the bridge. She talks about knitting, sewing and dabbling in crochet, and she's got a gorgeous little tutorial for a little King Charles like hanging heart thing, which was really lovely. And then we've got Blue Heart Crochet, who is Abby, and she's in Liverpool, so of course she's got an amazing Liverpudlian accent. She started her channel a few years ago to chat and connect to other crafters, as she didn't know anyone who did it. She particularly likes to knit and crochet, but she gives lots of crafts a go. She started her channel and found the most amazing community, and then in December last year her channel was hacked and she lost access to it, which is so scary. Thankfully, she had her video saved, and she says, the hacking showed me how amazing this community was. Loads of people spread the word about my channel and gave me lots of support. Our crafty community is definitely something special. How lovely is that? Rosberry Crafts is the next one. That's Ros. She is in Lake Country, British Columbia in Canada. She makes videos about her crafty adventures and sometimes her daily life. Meow Crafts is Jill. She's in Cambridgeshire. She's been podcasting for about 8 months, and she says she just feels like she's getting the hang of it. Her vlogs are mainly about knitting and crochet, sprinkled with a little bit of sewing and the occasional painting project. She's passionate about reusing things, charity shop rummaging and using up leftover yarn. She did a great vlog about the East Anglia Yarn Festival as well. Fibre Wolf Co is Maria Wolf. She's in Portugal. She talks about knitting, crochet and other crafts. Then we've got Wool and Wishes. This is Tracy and Kirsty in Hampshire, and they talk about knitting, crochet and all things fibre, and I really enjoyed their podcast. Their accents remind me, I know it says they're in Hampshire, but their accents really remind me of like round here. It was really nice. They really knew what they were talking about, their different projects, and yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And then we've got, of course, Jen and Jack. So Jen is Chunky Stitches. She's in Newcastle, and she talks about mainly crochet, but she is starting to learn to knit. And then her partner is Slip Slip Ginge, who is Jack. He's also in Newcastle. He is the son of Back to Blighty, my friend Becky, and together Jen and Jack have their own channel called Our Little Universe, which is where they share vlogs of their trips, mostly to yarn shops as well as other parts of the country, and they meet makers and dyers and so on. And I will link all of those underneath. A new podcast that Loma and Echo of the Rogan Camp girls have started is called Stitch in BE. It's a monthly podcast for a local stitching group meet up in Minnesota, so I will link that underneath, so if you're in that kind of area that will be of interest to you. And then of course we've got the gorgeous Claudia in Germany, the Sunbird Crochet podcast. She knits, she crochets, and I think she's just finished her first knitted sweater. She's also a very talented artist. And then another new YouTuber, but not new to this channel, is Belinda's Baubles, who is Belinda in Texas. And then we've got a crafty yarn, Samantha and Caitlin. They are a mother and daughter in Queensland, Australia. They also have a separate channel for all things sewing called Violet May Handmade. And they always wear matching outfits, which is absolutely adorable. I'm not sure how old Caitlin is. She looks like she might be about the same age as my daughter, 17 or 18. But she is fantastic. Oh, well, they both are. They're really good knitters, and yeah, it's lovely to hear them talking about it. And then another one that's like left a note is not a podcast. It's an Etsy shop, but I am feeling in a celebratory mood, so why not? It's called Mouse in Paris, and she sells project bags. So we'll link that underneath as well. Then we've got Franny Do Makes, who is Fran. She has a fortnightly knitting podcast and also occasional vlogs. She too did a lovely vlog about the East Anglia Yarn Festival, and I really like all her makes, and yeah, she's a really lovely podcast to watch. Then we've got Growing Love Designs, who is Carla in California. She is on a crochet journey, plus she also films little vloggy extras. She has got a really really relaxing voice. It's lovely to listen to. She shares a lot of the stuff that she makes to sell in her Etsy shop as well. Hooks and Stitches is Natasha. She shares lots of crochet. So I'm getting really snotty. Hang on, I'm going to pause and blow my nose. Maybe I'm allergic to alpaca. Hope that's not the case. I wasn't snotty before I started filming, so maybe I am. Right, who have we got next? Okay, Charlotte's Craft. She's in England. We've got Riding Side Saddle with Tammy in Wisconsin. This sounded interesting actually. It said, Tammy and her cousin Leah talk about women's issues from periods to menopause and everything in between. I haven't watched that, but I thought that sounded really, really interesting, so I will be going to. Knitting Not Screaming, I don't know your name, again because I haven't been to shop, do a bit of research. They talk about sewing books and general waffle. And then we've got Madison, who's over the bridge in Essex. She is the House of Langford. I've met Madison a couple of times at yarn shows and things. She's lovely. We've got Soxy Nana, who is Alice. Visit with Nana and Papa, which is mostly about knitting with other rabbit holes besides. Marquita makes, Marquita makes Knotty Crush. That is Marquita, but I haven't got a note here about what your podcast is about. Who else? Is that it? Oh, The Knitting Cyclist was recommended by Janine. And I think The Knitting Cyclist is called Jen and she's in New York. And finally, we've got Bobblehead Knits, who is Karen in Colorado. She's called Bobblehead Knits because she suffers from something called cervical dystonia, which affects the muscles in her neck, makes her head bobble. So that's why she went with it. And she is a knitter, I think, but I haven't watched, so I'm not sure. So I've still got a bunch still to have fun watching. I can't tell you how much fun I had going through all of those podcasts. I had a cup of tea, I had snacks, and I was just going through one after the other. I was watching like your latest episodes and then your first episode just to get an idea of what you're all about, and it was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm kind of tempted to do that more often. But yeah, like I say, my subscription list is now like doubled because I found so many amazing new podcasts. So please do go and check them all out. Find some new podcasts to watch. Give some new YouTubers a bit of a boost. Oh, I really feel like I just kind of yelled at you at speed, like one of those auctioneers, like one for the 500. That's not what they say, is it? You know what I mean, like an auctioneer, like at one of those like sheep auctions or something. They go really, really far, or car auctions. I know what I'm talking about. Let's do the giveaway now. Let's have a break and do the giveaway. So my first giveaway prize, I showed these last time, but I'll show them again, is this gorgeous bag from Heather at Lemon Tree Corner. That's her card there. She donated this bag of a knitting cat. It's so cute, as a prize. So that's going to be one prize. There's going to be 3 winners. Then when I was at the East Anglia Yarn Festival, I bought one of the gnome bundles from Henny Penny Makes. And these gnome bundles are designed to make some gnome patterns. And the details of the gnome patterns are behind the label here. And I will buy you the gnome pattern of your choice by that designer. Once you receive it, you can just let me know and I will buy you that. And then I've got this amazing bag of Lay Family Yarn minis. Just a bag of utter deliciousness then. So I've got 3 prizes and I'm going to run the whole giveaway here on YouTube because I think that's easier, so you don't have to go off anywhere to do it, and it's easier for me to draw a winner as well. So in the comments, just leave the did I write any ideas down for me? I did. Alright, leave a comment, and if you would like to be in with a chance of winning one of these 3 prizes, please include the words yarn monster. As in, I am a yarn monster, you are a yarn monster, we are yarn monsters. I love a yarn monster. A yarn monster is kind and fluffy. A yarn monster likes to eat yarn. That kind of thing. Get the words yarn monster in there, the phrase yarn monster. I can then do a random pick, finding people who've used that expression, and that will help me draw my 3 winners, which I will then announce in the next episode. Right. And finally, we have made it. I feel like I've talked a lot, but not talked about much, which is weird. I think it's because I haven't shared lots of works in progress this time round. But I do want to talk about the Dodgy Bag Make Along. It is currently in full swing. I have not made a jot because I've got nowhere to make anything. My sewing machine is upstairs, packed away from the dust, and I normally sew at the kitchen table, which we don't have at the moment. But I will be making something before the end of the Make Along. It ends on the 4th of June. I run it with the gorgeous Claudia of the Crochet Luna podcast. She has definitely done a video about this, which I haven't watched, but I'm hoping to later today. And there are loads of bags popping up on their Ravelry thread, which I'm hosting and we'll be drawing a prize from, and on the Instagram hashtag as well, which is Dodgy Bag MAL 2023, or whatever the correct one is that's on the screen now. And Claudia will be drawing a prize winner or 2 from there. And I've got some incoming bits actually to add to that prize pile. So Claudia sent me the most lovely little parcel of goodies, and in it was a load of lovely sweets, and she sent me some gorgeous lobster yarn, because yarn, that is not yarn, that is fabric, your lobster fabric, which I will of course be using for a dodgy bag. And she sent me this, I don't know if she, oh no, it's by Cookies and Bees. Ooh. She sent me a little yarn pouch thing. Someone on one of the podcasts that I discovered from that list, someone called these a yarn condom. These things make me chuckle. But yeah, the yarn pouch we'll go with. That's who made it. But look at the fabric, it's got chickens. It's so cute. And if you're not sure what this is for, I shall show you. I don't know why I said it like that. That was my nerdy voice. So you've got your yarn cake, and then it goes in here, which means you can then pull your yarn out, and it keeps it all together, and it doesn't, if you're pulling from the centre, it doesn't collapse. Isn't that clever? In fact, I'm using that now. It's going, my chicken yarn pouch is going in my chicken bag. Thanks, Claudia. I assume that was for me, not a giveaway prize, because it's mine now. Claudia has the most gorgeous shop, and she sells badges related to the Dodgy Bag MAL. And I've got ones for the last couple of years, but I haven't got all of them. I think I'm definitely missing some. So I've got the 2020. No, I've got the 2018 one and the 2021 one. So this is the 2021 one, and this is the 2018 one, and then this is this year's one. And she sent me a few of these to put with prizes. So whatever prizes I put together, which I haven't yet, I will put badges with the prizes. I've been a bit rubbish at getting my prizes together because everything is in such disarray. But I've got some yarn and some bags and so on to give away. And now I've got some badges as well. And also, she sent me from her shop these gorgeous little projects thingies and a key ring. Oh, I've had to change position because I've been sitting on my foot and it's gone dead. Oh, right. So these are little badges that you can put on your project bag so you know what's inside it, and there's little T behind it as well. So we've got a hat project, we've got sock project. So beautifully packaged like that on her card with a lovely logo and then the T behind. Sweater project. I'll link her shop underneath. And then there's, oh, this is just beautiful. Don't want to give it away. Crochet Joy keyring. How gorgeous is that? So clever. And then in this parcel. I'm assuming this is for me because it's got a chicken on it, but I wasn't sure, so it's mine now. So there's scissors, gorgeous scissors, nice little crafty scissors. Also, this is yellow polka dot, which is another reason why I assumed it was for me. So it's got the little protector that's yellow, which is my favourite colour. And then look at the little charm on it. Chicken, and then I belong to a crocheter. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I might even actually put that as a bag charm. Yeah. Anyway, so I've got all of those bits to add to it as well. And if you're not familiar with the Dodgy Bag MAL, we get together for a month every year and we make project bags. I've got several tutorials on this channel, which you can find in the playlist section, all about how to make bags. And we do not worry about perfection. We do not worry. I'm really low down now, aren't I? Is that better? That's better. We don't worry about perfection. We don't worry about getting things wrong. We just make them for the joy of making them, and then we use them and enjoy them, and we don't worry about the bits of thread or the wonky bits and everything like that. All the details are underneath if you want to join in. There's still plenty of time. Next up, I wanted to mention, I had lots of questions. I mentioned last time about running a strawberry shortcake MAL, a strawberry shortcake make along in the summer, because I really struggle with the summer months. So I thought it'd be something that would be really fun to kind of, you know, make me enjoy and appreciate the things that summer are about. But I did have quite a lot of questions about what strawberry shortcake was, because in my sort of UK-centric way, I assumed everyone just knew. I think it was a US thing as well, but of course it wasn't sort of worldwide, so I thought I'd explain it. Strawberry shortcake, for those of you that didn't have this in the 1980s, or now, was originally a greetings card illustration that evolved into dolls, stickers, accessories and a cartoon series. My sister and I loved them, and we had loads and loads of the dolls, and I showed some of them over on my other channel actually. I should have brought them for the podcast, shouldn't I? We loved strawberry shortcake, and I think they still do cartoons of it now. I'm not sure though, because our children are a bit older now. So that's who she is, and she was basically she was like strawberry themed, and then she had friends who were like other fruits, so they might be lemon or blueberry or orange or you know, lime, and they, you know, their theme was that. So basically we're thinking any kind of summery fruits or, you know, that kind of thing. I'm thinking sort of Wimbledon strawberries and cream, strawberry cheesecake, lemon meringue pie, raspberries eaten straight off of the bush, that kind of thing. But I will share lots of inspiration nearer the time, probably in the next episode actually, because that'll be in June, ain't it? Oh. So that's what strawberry shortcake is. Okay, future plans. I'm very excited. So I have been watching a lot of BookTube recently. Don't worry, I'm not changing the subject of my channel, and I'm not going to start talking about books or anything instead of, or as well as, yarn and crochet and knitting and all the lovely stuff that I talk about here. But I've been watching a lot of BookTube and absolutely loving it recently. And I wanted to take some of the elements of BookTube that I really enjoy, like the format of how they publish their videos, and try to apply it to what I do. Because when I originally started, way back in episode 1, let me just move this before I knock it over. Part of the reason why I wanted to start a channel was to hold myself accountable for the things I was working on, make sure, you know, have motivation to finish them and work on them. And that has worked, but in a way it's also created more things that I'm working on, because obviously I'm, you know, I get to know about more stuff, or I get like given as gifts patterns, and or I just can't help casting on one other thing or starting another crochet project. So the whips are a bit out of control. I've already made one video about all of my whips, but it's not got any better. But it's not doing anybody any harm, and it's something I love doing. But what I really like about BookTube is they do like a video where they'll talk about a roundup of the month. So they'll say, right, at the beginning of June, for example, they'll look back and do a May roundup. They'll look at the past month, look at the books they've read, talk about them and how that went. And they, at the other end of the scale, they also look forward to the months to come and talk about the things that they intend to read and finish. And I thought that would work really well for me, for my channel. So at the moment, obviously I number my episodes. I'm at episode 100. I'm still going to do that. I think I'm going to push that to the end of the video title, and I'm going to go with doing monthly roundups, because I do publish a video once a month. So what I was thinking I would do is in early June, I will publish a video that will be my May roundup of everything I've worked on in May, and looking ahead to what I want to be working on in the coming month of June. In fact, that will probably be the second week of June, because I have got another sponsorship that I'm working with, and it just ties in with their schedule, and then the following month it'll be a week earlier, and then it'll work out just right. So I'm going to try doing that, and I don't know if I'll split them into 2 videos, like what I'm going to be working on and the roundup, and it will still have the same format of works in progress and finished objects and so on. But I really like that idea. So I had a little look through of all of my channels that I subscribe to see if there was anyone doing something similar. And who did I find? Martin of the Knit 365 blog does it. He tends to do his videos as roundups of the month before, and I really enjoy his videos, so I thought, well, that's good. I know I enjoy that, so that was another ticked box for me to give it a go. And I think the House of Langford, Madison, does it as well. So I'm going to give that a little go. And in addition to that, they also do other videos such as bookshelf tours, book hauls, and tags and things. So for example, I thought that might work really well for doing like a yarn stash tour, or like how I store my crafting stuff tour, or like if I don't go shopping very often for things, but it might be quite fun to do a bit of a haul video about stuff I've already got, like my project bag collection, or the tools that I use, or organising crafting stuff. And I want to just make more videos about the stuff that goes on around the main podcast or the main roundups. And I really like they do these tags. So I know recently in the crochet community there was the amigurumi book tag, so I might do that. So if you know of any tags about knitting, crochet and stuff like that, I know that Rel's tagged me in a couple of things before, which I really enjoyed doing, but I did them as part of the podcast. But I'm thinking it would be fun to do them as just like a short little video. So if you are aware of any of those types of tags, tag me in them. I'd really like to get involved with doing that, because I just think it's a fun way to add to the content on my channel. So yeah, I will probably see you in the second week of June for May Roundup, or otherwise known as episode 101. I've got a horrible feeling that that was going to be a very long podcast. But I love watching long podcasts, so maybe it's not a horrible feeling after all. Also, thank you for all the love on my last update on my Christmas jumper project. I will keep you updated on that very, very soon. And it just remains for me to say thank you so much for watching this and the previous 99 episodes of the Little Drops of Wonderful podcast. I feel like the luckiest person in the world to be able to be part of this yarny, fibre community, to be part of this small little community at Little Drops of Wonderful. And just thank you for watching so much, and thank you for being here, and you've made me feel like I belong somewhere, and thank you for that. Until next time, happy knitting, happy crocheting. Bye.